We are now streaming live on Facebook. Hello, Colin. Hello, everybody. So
Hi there.
excited to be here. Wow. Gonna click a couple of clicks, make sure everybody can see it in other places. Um, my goodness, you guys, I'm gonna say that it sure has, you can tell by my voice, I've been a little under the weather this week, and Colin is still healing. Actual tissue in his body. So we've been under all kinds of really fun things and doing all kinds of fun stuff. And we want to talk today about how to keep your I guess energy high. How when we're, going through and purging planetary miasma or issues, or even within your own body, healing our own body, clearing our template, bringing in DNA. Like we're doing so much right now, and it's happening and at an escalated rate.
Yep.
So I want to have Colin, talk about some of this. And you guys bring your questions to the table because we're all experiencing this. This isn't unique to just Colin and I, or light workers or healers or anything like that. This is like happening across the field. It's happening equally. It's completely unbiased who it affects. So, oh my gosh, thank you for being here, Colin.
Well, it's great to be with you and all the listeners again. Yeah, that's interesting times we're living in.
It
And
is. It is interesting times.
I thought it would be a good idea just for people to get grounded again and understand. Uh, I suppose if I had to give us a name, I would say how to keep your faith alive.
How to keep your faith alive. That's brilliant. How to keep your faith alive. That's perfect. I agree.
Because we get so wrapped up in temporal matters, in what is happening around us in the world around us, that we sometimes forget that we are energetic beings. We are soul beings, and the soul consists of a field of plasma energy. It's a highly charged field of energy of positive and negative ions. And we are in control of that, or meant to be in control of that. So keeping your faith alive is about holding those values, those thoughts, those emotions, keeping them in check, and not allowing the temporal to become the focus of your endeavors or of your daily activities, but to allow space and time just to be who you are, and to appreciate that we are these powerful energetic beings. And when we combine our energies together, we are so much more powerful. It's like a fireplace. The coals furthest from the fire lose their energy very quickly and they die. But if you stay close to the fire and to the center of the fire, you retain the warmth and the heat and the energy that's there. And one part of one coal gives the other coal energy. And so we have this energy together. And when we go out into the world, it's like we draw away from the fire, and we soon get cold. And when you get cold, the fire of your faith dies. Then you have to get back in the fire. And sometimes when you're cold and you go into hot, that's an extreme of temperature, so it's not very pleasant. So just stay close to the fire.
Yeah. When you say that the way that I translate that is staying in your heart, stay in your heart center, right? And we understand that. I mean, the heart is, it is all that. This is where it all begins, right? This is where we connect in through our soul. What does our heart do, right? Like what is the heart doing, not just for our body, right? but for our multidimensional bodies, right?
Yeah, but the heart can also be pulled, and it can be shaken. Our emotions can be jolted, and we can soon have experiences which make us feel that we're not winning, make us feel that we're not adequate, that make us feel that life is just too much to bear, and that that we are not good enough to do what we are meant to do. So yeah, being heart-centered is very important, but to protect the heart and not allow it to become so involved in the 3D carnal temporal world, but to retain one's values as being sacred, um, you know, because the values of this world are shamelessly poor.
I agree. I agree.
And we can't escape it. I mean, we have wars, and we have corrupt governments, and we have corruption in our judicial systems, and we have a corrupt banking system and a corrupt educational system. We've been oppressed by the systems, and we're being made to wear masks, and our movements are being restricted. So it's very difficult for one to stay centered in one's own power and just see those as temporal things. And when I say temporal, temporal comes from the word tempus, which is Latin for time. So when one gets into that, all that matters is this small space of time. And so we get pushed around and shoved around in a small space of time. But time is very stretched out. We are eternal beings. And when we allow time to compress on us so that time becomes more important, the immediacy of this small space of time becomes so important that we lose the perspective of time being eternal, and that we can master the time experience ourselves, and we can change timelines, and we can move our consciousness into higher timelines, and which we are doing at the moment. But I feel just at this point in time, people need to learn how to keep their faith alive and to stay strong within themselves when we are being shaken at every turn, in every way. Economically, the economic systems of many countries are collapsing or have collapsed, and they're just being held up by the socialist governments around the world, who are just printing more money and pushing that into to other governments and lending the money. And it's a very a fragile and dangerous time for the planet. So it's very important for people to realize that what we are observing is a hologram, and other people, other beings around us are creating this hologram for us, and are trying to scare us and make us feel afraid and guilty and inadequate. But if we are able to stay centered within ourselves and know that we are connected to all things, and that all things in the universe are connected to us, and we can draw on that power that we have by being connected with all things and everything in the universe, and by grace, by love and grace, we can overcome these things. But it's very important that people keep their faith alive.
Yeah.
And in the Bible, it has a very interesting definition of grace. In Hebrews 11, it says, by grace is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So faith is knowing the substance and bringing that substance into perfection within oneself. And the evidence is the evidence not seen by the carnal and temporal mind, but the evidence that lives in our hearts. And that is stronger than other beings trying to push their narrative into our brains and our thoughts and emotions. So yeah, I had a lovely time this week. I spent a lot of time on my bed on my back, trying to relieve the pressure on my feet. So I had to keep my feet up. And so I had a bit of time. So I watched movies of some of my, what I call spiritual heroes, and people like Charles Spurgeon. Now, he was one of the first people I came across as a young Christian, and I bought his, soon after, accepting Christ, I bought his book, The Sermons of Charles Spurgeon, and I read them, and that filled me with so much inspiration, and it taught me so much, not necessarily about Christ and about the Bible and the faith, but he was a very practical spiritual leader who did amazing things, and he people would come from all over. He was like, they called him the Prince of Preachers, because he would preach at Covent Gardens, for instance, on a Sunday, and he'd have 10,000 people there.
Wow.
And that was in the 1800s. So, and then I watched the movie on John Wesley and then John Bunyan, and I was really getting into all this, and I saw that these men had something in common, all of them, and that they had a heart to serve other people, and that they had a heart for the people around them, and they loved people, and they selflessly gave themselves in service to other people. And I found that such a very good lesson. It was not so much their belief in Christ that was important to them, although that was very important to all of them, but all of them had this undying faith in their Savior Christ. And I think, if I did a post recently about the Christos, where does the name Christ come from? It comes from the Christos energy that exists in dimensions 13, 14, and 15. In the Bible, Jesus is never called the Christ. That was a name attributed to him afterwards. And he was given that name by the Catholic Church as a kind of, to signify that they had crucified and brought to trial and crucified the Christos.
Yes.
Okay. But there was a person, Jesus, and there was Yeshua was his name, and he had a cousin called John the Baptist, and they were both, Jesus was a Rishi and John the Baptist was an avatar. And the Bible story about Jesus is so distorted. But having said that, there is so much there that is really of the Christos energy, and the true Christ energies, and the true, but their mission was never really understood by the church, or that was understood by the church, but hidden by the church.
I was going to say, it was definitely clearly understood by the church, but they had to twist it up. So therefore, giving us a language to that best fit their narrative. So then we have no idea what Yeshua's mission was, no idea how to achieve a Christ itself, and no idea that John the Baptist is an avatar. They don't explain, it's a different language entirely.
Yeah. And so, but having said that, there have been many people over the years, like Charles Spurgeon, John Wesley, John Bunyan, Martin Luther, John Wycliffe. I was reading all about them this last week, and there have been so many what I call champions of faith. That if we would come to understand what they said and what they did, not in terms of Christian doctrine, but in terms of energy and what they were able to bring to this planet. And all of them had a very, very, very powerful faith, a faith that inspired others. And I think that's where what we have to do is have the kind of faith that is unbending, unyielding, and it's going to, when others are in danger, when others are panicking, when others are standing in line waiting to get their food stamps and handouts from the government, that's when people of faith are going to make a difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not prophesying that that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. But having said that, it's bad enough at the moment with people, walking around with masks on their faces and losing their jobs. And last week there was just another young boy. I live in a small village in the Western Cape of South Africa, and one of the young boys, only 25-year-old, committed suicide, and that's the third one this year. They're all young men who've taken their own lives, and it is tragic.
It is. I
People
oh,
begin
I'm
to
sorry.
lose hope and faith.
Yeah.
Mm.
People have they don't I think there's a lack in faith of anything really, because there's never been adequate teaching on what faith is. And we were talking about this in class the other day about, you know, people think, oh, they have to do all of these things. They have to go out and do good deeds, and they have to go out and, like they think they have to do all of this stuff. Therefore, then they are not worthy. And it's like, that's not how it works. You wake up and you have a heart, and you have, even just healing yourself is being in good faith and of service. And people don't understand that, the simplicity of it.
Yeah, yeah. And there's so many different ways people can serve, you can go to hospitals, just start up a visitation program. You can go to your local SPCA or whatever they called it, animal rescue,
Mm.
and go and help animals and work with the animals and feed the animals. You can go to children's homes and play with the children. You can go to old age homes and play with and talk to the old age people, and when people are in service to others in that way, that's when we shine our light of our faith for other people to see. It's no good us sitting back and not doing anything about the service to others. People say, well, when do I get the time to be of service to others? The fact is, if you don't make the time, you won't have the time, because time for that kind of thing doesn't fall in your lap. So you have to go out there and make time for that. And all those things that I spoke about, I used to do. I don't do them anymore because I've gotten older and I don't have the same group of people around me that I used to do these things. But we used to, like at Christmas time, we used to go around and collect, gifts for children,
Mhm.
and then parcel them up and go and hand them out to children's homes. We used to go sing carols in hospitals, and do all kinds of things, and just to have that visitation. And people say, well, how's that effective? Because we are powerful energy beings.
Yeah.
Just that touch of your hand on an older person, just that touch of your hand or that smile on your face to a small child, that is like a signpost to them. It's like a lighthouse, a beacon of light that shines for others to see. And that's the kind of faith that we have to start, practicing of. That I think, I think the Apostle Paul said it very well. It said, "Faith without works is dead."
Mm.
And if you want to keep your faith alive, you have to get into that mode of service to others. and it can be small things. When you stop at a gas station to fill up your tank, look around and see who you can serve. And
Yes.
if there's somebody in the car, a child in the car next to you, smile at them and just say, hi, how are you? I
Mhm.
love you.
And then hopefully, and then hopefully the parents don't think that you're creepy, right?
Yeah, but we are crazy.
I know, but it's like, these kinds of things, we've been so conditioned to um, hide ourselves. We've been so conditioned, and especially now with the covering of our faces, right? Like we're conditioned to mind your own business. Somebody could be abused next to you right out in public, and we're taught just mind your own business, move along. This isn't for you to observe, right? And people are being hurt every single day, and people need love, eye contact, smiles every single day.
Yeah,
And oh, it's so missed. And the children, especially, watching them eat an ice cream cone. And the children are still so connected to their telepathy. And for those of us that can use telepathy, it's amazing to have conversations with these children, right? What
yeah,
they see, what they feel, how they're observing. They don't say, "Hey, I like this ice cream cone." They're like, "Wow, you can hear me? This is cool." Right? Like it's
yeah,
like, have you seen the birds? Have you touched the water? You know, um, re-remembering what we're capable of, re-remembering what does it feel like when you go to the river, when you what does the water feel like on your skin? That is
yeah,
transformational. It's the tiniest little thing, but it allows your soul to transform,
yeah,
connecting with nature in this way. These are the littlest things, right? Saying hello
yeah,
to the cedar tree out in the front, right?
yeah,
I feed the hummingbirds and they come especially when I'm doing something like this, the feeders are down below and they come up and they say, hi, hi, hi. And they're so fantastic. And they'll tell me when they're out of food, they come right up to the window and, oh,
yeah,
it's just
yeah.
joyous, really.
Yeah, and I found in my own life when you've been in service to other people that you get that warmth of the
Mhm,
feeling of your faith. You can see your faith that is alive,
mhm.
and that lights that heat, that energy that makes you feel, yes, this works. This actually is. But if you're just sitting back watching everything happen and you never get involved, then your faith's going to die,
Yeah.
because faith without works is dead. You
Yeah.
know.
You want to know, like, I'm curious your take on this. I have noticed, and you mentioned the young man in your village who took his life. And what I'm noticing is a pattern, and I want to see how you view this. I see very strongly and feel very strongly that we are finally bringing back, we've anchored um, Sophia, the Christos Sophia mother. We've really been able to anchor this into the planet. And so this is rising and coming up and, just really bringing back the feminine. And I'm finding that um, there's something going on with our men specifically. And are they having a hard time embodying the female? um, is this what's happening? And then I'm also hearing females saying, where are, you know they're coming from this really wounded space of, I need a man to do this, and I have to have this, and I have to have that. And it's like the men are taxed out, and they're not getting the support and help that they need to integrate. And I don't know why I feel this way, but I feel like it's the men who need so much more base, so much more love. Am I
Yeah,
seeing this correctly? This is,
absolutely. The masculine, there's been an attack over the last 30 to 50 years on masculine energy on this planet, to weaken it, because the masculine energy is the balance for the female energy. And the whole plan of the fallen ones is to keep this planet out, the energy balance out of kilter.
Mhm.
So, you know, and it happened so pervasively. You know, I remember when I was a young kid, and my older brother met his first girlfriend. He brought his girlfriend to have lunch with my parents, and then my parents went to his house and met her parents, and so that was like the children acknowledging and respecting the investment that their parents had made in their lives, and acknowledging that and saying, we're not seeking your approval necessarily, but we want to acknowledge and respect you for your input, and we want to share this other person that we met with you. You know, so those kind of values have died. Now men just take what they want and discard what they don't want. So they get into marriage relationships, and when it doesn't work out, they discard it. So they don't have that stickability, that ability to realize that they are in a contract. They've made a contract. When they enter into a marriage relationship, they enter into a contract. So the whole breakdown of marriages has been men giving up their contracts with their soulmates, and abandoning their contracts. And that is a sickness. That is like a disease. It's a spiritual disease, and that men have fallen under, and some women too have also, fallen under that. But men largely are incapable, and I speak from my own experience when I first awakened. And I realized, began to understand that my emotions are energy, and they were important, and so I thought, well, what are emotions? I don't understand this thing called emotions. You know, as an energy form, I just didn't understand it. So I did research on it, and I found that there are over 100 different emotions that we are capable of feeling, and yet I felt very few of them.
Mm-hmm.
There were
Yes.
certain emotions that were very powerful and strong in my life, like fear, worry, anxiety, guilt, low self-esteem, inadequacy, lack of confidence, and so I had accumulated a bunch of emotions that didn't serve me.
Mhm.
So I made this list of emotions, and I've got a spreadsheet where people can use to check this out. And you go and you list which emotions you feel most often, and which emotions. So you rate them from 1 to 10. The most, when the emotions you feel most often, you go from 10 downward, and the emotions you feel least often, you go 0 or 1 or 2. And in that way, you begin to get a clear picture of the emotions that are most prevalent in your consciousness and your psyche. And I was horrified that how emotionally inept and inadequate I was, because there were so many emotions that I wouldn't even go near. I didn't want to feel them.
Well, they're scary. Emotions can be scary, right? It's like I was listening to something. Oh, I forget the gentleman's name, Doug something. He talks about the anthroposophia, and he was talking about how basically the lower harmonics, right? So the chakras 1, 2, and 3. This being the pain body, the physical body. This is like the dragon, right? And how basically we have to learn how to tame the dragon, how to control the dragon. And I see a lot of those lower vibrational emotions, anger, hate, greed, avarice, these kinds of things, going into um, and into this. And then it makes me think, oh, I wonder if that's what people mean when they're saying tame your dragon or become a dragon rider, right? Um, I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah, that's a good analogy of taming your emotions, because the first thing I found is, when I realized how inadequate and inept I was at emotions, was I felt vulnerable to many emotions.
Yeah.
Like, how do you feel love? And when I began to interrogate it, I realized I had never felt love.
Isn't that crazy? And we think we love, we really do. You know, we walk around thinking we're in love or someone
Yeah,
is love, and you can't love, like, there's only this kind of love or that kind of love. And it's like, love is actually love. And it's like, it's
yeah,
eternal and it's big, right? People don't understand that.
yeah.
And it's
And
so
when,
crazy.
when you combine love with, say, grace,
Oh,
which is unmerited favor, and you put love and grace together, realize, wow, love is allowing all things. It's not judging other people. It's just being love to other people and expressing that love to other people by giving,
mhm.
by being gracious towards them, by respecting them, by acknowledging them, by just having a sense of their being and how important their being is to the overall fabric of the universe, and so I had to learn to develop my own understanding of the feeling of love and then begin to feel the feeling of love. And that's the problem with men. They are inadequately trained to feel their feelings. They don't know what they feel. And I've seen this many times because I've talked to a lot of young men about this because I'm interested in it. As what do you? I ask them the question, how do you feel right now? And the answer will be, I feel okay. And I'd say, what are you feeling right now? Well, what do you mean? What emotions are you feeling right now? And he says, well, I don't know. And that's what most men do. They don't know what they are feeling.
Mhm,
They can't identify those feelings.
mhm.
They hide from them. If they're feeling inadequate, they can't say, I'm feeling inadequate. So what I'll do is I'll change that feeling into a feeling of adequacy,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
because you don't feel the feeling, you can't change it. If you
exactly.
can't identify it, you can't change it.
That's exactly right. If you can't identify it, you can't change it. And that's the key piece, right? If you can't name what it is, you don't understand where to begin. Um,
Yeah.
and so you get on top of that, the pressures, and this is what I see coming from a wounded female, right? The pressures of, well, you're not this and you're not that, and and on and on and on. And it's you say the last 30, 40 years, um, really attacking the masculine. It's like a program in women to also demean and attack our men, right? And it's like, is that coming from our wounded masculine, or the fact that we have not integrated um, true mother aspects, right? And so, like, I hear this so much, like, it's like women are, they expect, I expect him to do this, I expect him to do that. And it's like, I kind of go, this is, my girlfriends don't like me much. I go, gross. Like, why don't you just do that for yourself? Like, like it's so, like, it's no wonder you're alone, right? Like,
Yeah.
how,
Yeah. I
how
think
do how do we do that? How do we communicate and clear this out? How can we do this as a team?
Yeah, it's a question of balancing your own emotions and feeling adequate. But if you can't balance your own emotions and feel adequate and confident and peaceful and reliable and good and I can just name hundreds of emotions, positive emotions that well, not hundreds, but a large number of positive emotions one can feel that can offset all the negative emotions. But
Mhm.
as I said, if you can't identify the negative emotions, you can't change it. And there is an agenda on this planet to kill people.
Yeah.
People have got to get up to understand this. There is a genocidal plan for humans, and we don't have to fight this war with guns and swords. We can fight it with the energy that we hold in our soul bodies, but we have to wake up and understand how that energy works and how powerful it is so that we learn that we can turn the other cheek, because a slap on the cheek is nothing really. Um, it's when our souls are harmed. That's what we should be really be watching. And our souls are being harmed right now, today, every day. For the last year, our souls have been under attack, and people can't see that. You know, we have a virus, they tell us, that is deadly and going to kill everybody on the planet. But what's the first thing they do? They put everybody into stress.
Yeah.
Now, anybody who's has any kind of scientific understanding of the immune system will know that if for the immune system to work, you have to deal with the stress, because the stress causes oxidation, oxidation causes inflammation, and that leads to cellular deterioration. So the first thing they should be doing is saying, don't worry, don't stress, we'll manage this, and we'll tell you how to overcome this problem, and we'll tell you about the immune system and how the immune system can deal with, you know, this thing, this V thing, this V rocket.
Yes.
It's been our way.
It's,
And so it's not, you know, it's not that difficult. But what has happened? They've put people into stress.
yeah.
People they've lost their jobs, they've lost their freedoms, they've lost their identity, they're not able to travel, they don't have family relationships, they can't go to church, they can't attend meetings, they can't go to sports events, and there are all these restrictions that are going to build up into a huge wave of negative energy. And what's the purpose of that? Is to genocide everybody on the planet.
Exactly. Exactly. That is just, that gets me the most. I see more and more people saying, or I'll say making fun of the fact that if you're not a doctor, if you're not a scientist, it's impossible for you to know how the immune system works, or it's impossible for you to be educated enough to, you know, make a choice on your own whether or not you want to do a certain kind of treatment, right? And you know what I'm talking about. We don't have to go down that hill, so, or up that hill, down that road, whatever. But the point is, what everybody is missing is the controlled environment, okay? And this, people miss it. This is the missing piece of everything. They don't want to look at the darkness. They don't want to look at the fact, and this is fact, whether you can see it or not is not relevant, that we are under attack, that there are controller groups. You can call them the NAA, you can call them the fallen ones. I don't really care what you call them. They're the ones that know us, have studied us, and keep us under wraps. So you don't need a doctor to tell you how your immune system works. First of all, you could go into your own knowingness and know how it works. Your body is divinely purposed to do what it needs to do on its own without you even thinking about it. That's the first thing. And I just get so about this. I have so much passion about this. And it's like, and you also can do your own research. You can do the same college studies by looking up the same information. You can read peer-reviewed studies. You can do all of it. Okay. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you take a scalpel to somebody. By no means is that what I'm saying, but the information is attainable, and it doesn't take a doctor to tell you how your immune system works. It doesn't take a doctor to tell you how your body functions. And I just get so upset about this. So, I get so upset because then there are perfectly good doctors that stand up and say, please don't take this jab, or I'm not giving this to my patients, or you actually need to breathe. Oxygen is important. Stress actually causes issues in your body. You know, it's like, and then people are saying, well, the good doctors don't know what they're talking about because the other really good doctors tell you, you know, do this. And it's like, oh dear, I just, so
Yeah. If I was the head of a government, I would have passed Smarties around to everybody. Say, take one of these little Smarties, and we'll cure you forever because you don't need anything else.
Oh my gosh, and they would do it. That's the thing, right? And
it's called the placebo effect, you know. because our bodies will actually listen
Mhm.
to our thoughts and emotions, and they react to our thoughts and emotions. So if we put positive thoughts and emotions into our bodies,
Yeah.
every cell in our body has what is a glycoform. These look like, under microscope, they look like little forests around all our cells. And these forests are made of sugars, which are crystals. And these crystals send out signals to all the body, but they're also receiving the signals from our emotions and thoughts. So just by thought, you can change the cellular structure of your body.
Yeah.
It's as powerful as that's how powerful we actually are. But people will choose rather to feel they can't deal with whatever ails them and whatever has been sent to harm them or damage them. And they will choose to feel helpless. And
Yes.
that's not true. And that's, I think, going back to faith. Faith is the substance of things not seen. We can't see the virus. We can't see the immune system. We can't see the little cell signaling going on. We can't see our thoughts. We can't see our emotions. But they are the unseen world that we can control. And though we can't see God, we can know God
Yeah.
when we know ourselves. Okay? And that's how the whole universe works. Everything is an expression of the one thing that is God. It's not necessarily that's not his name. That's not a name because you can't name something which is everything. you know,
Yes.
and this is all powerful thing that we are all a part of by virtue of our being, and that our faith can know that. And
I
when
say
that
the
when that faith is alive by serving others, then we see the power of faith.
yes. I say that is the immovable mover, right?
Yeah, yeah,
The immovable mover. It's curious once you have the faith, right? Then you can see. You have to have the faith first, which is the piece missing, right? Have the faith first, and then you actually get to move beyond, and then you get to have those communications with spirit. You get to have
yeah,
those communications with your multidimensional self and your soul families, right? But if you
yeah,
start with the no faith, then you're just going to keep tumbling around in this cycle.
yeah, yeah.
And
And that's the thing to avoid that cycle.
yeah, and
Yeah,
I see those emotions that people get stuck in like little vortexes, like little tornadoes. Instead of realizing that time, you were talking about temporal time, right? And within this massive space of time, right, are like these tornadoes we ourselves have created, and then we get stuck in it and we don't know how to get out, and then like find, like, oh my gosh, how it's like you just get stuck there. So
yeah, yeah.
that's how I visualize it. But um, I like to make
Describe it
things up.
pretty well.
I like to make things up in my mind, right? To best to
Energetically, that's what it is. It's a vortex because
yeah.
all energy is vortex, you know.
Oh, well, that's good. At least I'm onto something, right? Uh,
Yeah,
and
I mean, the Tesla coil is just a coil. It's just a vortex.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I was I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot. Speaking of healing and having faith, being able to heal the body. I've been seeing the dodecahedron coming up a lot.
it's
So
a
the
what is
dodecahedron,
coming up? See
dodecahedron. I've been seeing it a lot. They've been saying like, correct the platonic solid, dodecahedron. And
right?
so
Okay.
I don't know like exactly what that means. And we do go in, as a team, if, we're doing field work with a being's template, right? We will go in and fix that adjust it, right? But I don't know exactly what that means aside from the fact that I know there are these platonic solids. I understand the Merkaba, all that stuff, but um, I perhaps I heard that there's a theory the universe, this universal time space, is perhaps a dodecahedron. I don't know if that is a true statement or not, because then some will say that that's also an outline of a man. Are we a dodecahedron at our, going down deep inside? I don't know.
Well, it's just part of the energy system, because if you know what a tetrahedron is, it's two inverted pyramids. Okay, the one storing energy up, the other one storing energy down.
Right.
And because of the shape of the pyramid, that pyramid shape, there's a differential that's created because the outside, the base of the pyramid bottom spins very fast, whereas the top of this pyramid spins very slowly.
Yeah.
So it's that differential in spin speed that creates this push-pull effect. And that's how the Merkaba works.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that has energy has a Merkaba field.
Right.
We
Yeah.
we have a Merkaba field,
Yes.
and it's that spinning in opposite directions at certain spin speeds that
Mhm.
creates the torque.
Yep.
Okay, for drawing energy in and pushing energy up.
Yeah.
You know, we don't understand that mechanics yet, but I'm teaching people how to use that mechanics. But that's it. A vortex. What is a tornado? A tornado is a vortex.
Vortex. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, just imagine another tornado of, of the same shape
Mm-hmm.
halfway through that tornado. So you get one tornado pushing energy up, and you get the other tornado pushing energy down. The
Mm-hmm.
two are necessary in order to create the balance. Okay. We don't see the second tornado, we only see the first tornado. So when you create a pyramidal structure, okay, that automatically creates the opposite vortex energy in order to keep that energy in balance.
That
That that's a little secret that not too many people know.
that makes me think, and I think we just talked about this maybe the last show, I can't remember, but creating those pyramids to sit in for meditation. Would it be like more beneficial to create a Merkaba to sit in?
No, just create one pyramid,
Uh-huh.
and that pyramid shape will automatically create
Automatically
an,
create.
an etheric
Yep.
energy pyramid, because the first pyramid creates the first etheric energy,
Mhm.
okay, um, the life force energy, and that automatically creates the opposite energy, vortex energy.
Yeah.
So you don't need to create the Merkaba, you create the pyramid.
Got it.
And the pyramid is an expression of the Merkaba field.
Thank you for clearing that up for me. I would have been building some crazy stuff over here. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Let's see. Um, My goodness, we've got thank you everybody for watching. We don't have any questions, but we do have some beautiful viewers today. So thank you everybody for being here. Um, I'm going back to what was the I should have written it down. Faith, and then there was one other thing that you talked about. Um, Shoot, I lost it, Colin. But it was about when we are talking about healing and going back to faith. It'll come to me. It's probably it was a specific word that I was focusing on that I wanted to re-bring up, and I didn't. But I guess going back to when people say I don't have time to do that, or I can't create um, because I'm too tired. Uh, and so I'm going to get to what I was trying to say in a roundabout way to kind of spark my memory. But a lot of people uh, like for instance, I could say, well, I'm, super sick. I've been super sick. I've been with fever. I have this. So I don't have the strength and I don't have the time to heal myself. What is something, because this is happening to a lot of people with the precession that's happening, the way the planets move, the way everything shifts. Fact of the matter is, the fallen angelics, they're not being fed the food that they normally get. And I've noticed this in the astral realm. It's actually getting cleaner in the astral realm, believe it or not. For those of you that go and dink around in there, but it's actually getting cleaner, and we're starting to see the programs, like their system is completely glitching out. So I think that's part of, what we are purging through our body, which is why people are so, I think, sick and getting injured, right? Because if they can't create injuries, then they don't have that pain to feed off of. And when we can control our own pain and control our own illnesses, then they're screwed, because they literally aren't getting what we give them. So for people who say, "Oh, I'm so sick," or "Oh, my kidneys are failing," or "Oh, this isn't working," what is something simple that they can do to restore their body? Just so restore their body, because it'll restore their mind to remember, I do have the strength to do this. Do you have a suggestion for that, Colin?
Water.
Water. Thank you. Breath.
Water, breath, yeah. Breath's a good one because they're both energy forms. Is water has different states. You get ice, which is water, solid water. You get liquid water, which we know is water, and you get gas, which are clouds and so on. The fourth state of water is plasma, which is what we are. So we are actually water beings. And the fifth state of water is ether, and ether is life force energy. And so what we see as air around us is actually ether. It's not just oxygen and carbon monoxide and stuff like that. It is actually ether. And all of those states of water are one thing, life force. So to stay connected to the ether, drink water. And as you water has been used as a spiritual energy on this planet. When the Catholic Church, they dip the bishops and their priests go and they dip their little cossack things, and they bless the people with water.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing? They're casting a spell on the people.
Gross.
Okay, so it's been misused. But if you drink water, if you breathe air, what are you breathing when you breathe air? You're breathing in water. It's called ether. It's the same thing. We live underwater. Water lives in us. 65 to 75% of our bodies is water.
I love that.
If people understand that water is life force, so whatever your health state is, whatever it is, drink water. But if you, particularly distilled water is very good for you, but not too much, because distilled water is a very powerful collector of acolytes in the body, which drain them from your body. But if you drink too much distilled water, you actually deprive your body of good bacteria. So we need a certain amount of good bacteria in the body, which is part of the immune system. The stuff that is in our bodies is actually viruses, germs, and bacteria.
Yeah, which is
And
nice.
our bodies are filled with them.
Well, and if you use, like, I remember a while back, I had purchased, well, it was gifted to me, but it was an ionic, like, air filter or something. I'd never been more sick in my life putting that filter in the room. I was like, oh my gosh, because I didn't have anything, like, it was taking everything away that I needed to, like, build my immune system. And I thought, oh, well, to hell with this air filter. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It worked. The good news is it worked.
Yeah. And when we start to have faith in the things that we cannot see, okay, and just have the understanding that they of what they are and how we relate to them, like water. Water is solid, ice, it's liquid, it's gas, it's plasma, and it's ether.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It has the same properties. All water, uh, ether, plasma, they're all conductive. So energy passes through them. They all have memory. So that water has memory in it. This is proven through science that you can actually, water will remember. They had students, just to get into this a bit, they had students get a drop of water, and they were supposed to, under microscope, look at this water and identify it. But the professors of this class said, well, let's look at the water and identify the crystals of the water according to who was actually observing the water, because observation of something actually creates an energy form. So they found that each student created a different crystalline structure in the water. But each time the student came back to do the same experiment, it created the same crystalline form.
It did. Wow. Wow. I
So
would think it would be different. Wow.
as memory, people don't understand that we live in a unified field of consciousness that is alive, it's energetic, it's conductive, it has memory, it has independent intelligence.
Yeah.
So it is independently intelligent of human beings, and it is in nature everywhere, that independent intelligence. And it replicates itself down from the highest level to the lowest level. So a drop of water is independently intelligent, it has memory, and it is conductive. It has the same properties as a breath of air.
I love that. When I heal my cells or, think about that, I use plasma energies. So I just think about, the plasma frequencies, the plasma energies, and I imagine that plasma light energy, right? Or however, going through my body. And I imagine it going through all of my cells, and even if you don't know how many cells or how many pores you have or how many nerves you have, it doesn't matter. You just say through all of my body, don't miss a speck of it. And with the ether, I identify ether as mother. And so, I call in mother and I call in mother's ether or ether into my entire beingness and out of my beingness, around. And these things will instantly, um, you know, I think instantly, but maybe I'm just hypersensitive to the energies. But you feel better. You feel better,
Yeah.
and it makes a difference.
Yeah. So
Betty,
we can communicate with water. So before you drink water, thank the water and ask it to heal you
yeah,
wherever you need to be healed, because water is independently intelligent. It's conductive. It'll communicate what you communicate with thoughts to the water. It'll communicate that to your cells.
yeah.
It's a very simple healing process.
I love it. I think that's beautiful. And I think we mentioned that too, like I whisper, I love you, or you are love, into water before I give it to my children, or I feel like that coming through my hands, right? This is, it's like why we pray over our food or bless our food, right? We're,
Yeah.
we're putting our energy structures into it, right?
Yeah.
Um, Betty is
We,
making a comment. I just want to bring this. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. The blessing our food is acknowledging the grace that exists in the universe.
Grace.
That
Yes.
it's undeserved favor that we are in that position to be able to eat, and it's a gift from the universe of our food. And so it's a very good standard to have in life, to be appreciative of, what you're going to put into your mouth.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Betty is saying grandmother's share. I don't know what she means by this, but it says yang is out of balance. They're not showing up and need clock of comfort. I'm not sure what that means, clock of comfort, but talking about being yang being out of balance, that's a Chinese, that's from a Chinese perspective.
Right.
So I'm not,
I'm not familiar with that, but so I can't really comment.
yeah, I can only understand it in the Chinese medicine perspective, but it's not really coming up. I can't remember if that's uh, what element that would be tied to. So maybe look up the elements, Betty, and see how you can connect them with the, she's saying cloak, so a cloak of comfort. Maybe look up the elements and see which element would best connect into nourishing yang deficiency. I hope that's helpful. I
Did you
could be,
say zinc deficiency or Zen deficiency?
no, I'm saying that it could be a yang deficiency, right?
Yang.
Yang, Yang.
Oh, right, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's it's magnetic energy. Yang is yin is electric and yang is magnetic, and when they're out of balance with each other, then it causes imbalance in the body. And I've been doing a lot of healing work this week, and what I'm really trying to do is create balance again in my
Yeah,
body.
I see what she's saying. She said men are tired of holding yang energy. So I think that I must have just missed her comment when we were talking about that. So it makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say they're probably pretty tired of a lot of things. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. I think that we're run down on time, Colin. We're right on time, and I think we had a beautiful chat today. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll also put this up on YouTube. I hope you get some rest, Colin. More rest for your tissues.
Yeah, no, I've done a lot of resting this last week, so I think I'm done resting now for a while.
I did a lot of resting too, but it was because I was ill. So I felt like, when something like that happens, it's like, Spirit says, well, if you're not going to rest on your own, we're going to make you rest. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I go, okay, you're right. I need to recharge. So
yeah. When you lie on your back, you can only look in one direction, and that's up.
exactly. Oh my gosh. Thank you for Sundays, as always. I'm sending you so much love, Colin. I appreciate you.
Well, it's been great being with you, and keep the faith.
I will. All right, you guys, you heard him. Keep the faith. We'll see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.